Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 319 of a year of change. A little angry yesterday, but I got that out of my system and I'm gonna probably end up going the other way now. I thought about something today that it's weird. There are moments when there's not quite an epiphany, but just a small little kind of a mini epiphany, where you have that realization that your perspective has changed, or it's not exactly a hindsight kind of realization. It's the same sort of thing that you don't notice that a sound has stopped until you really pause and you go, wait, the sound is gone now, if that makes any sense. I'll try to explain a little bit better. Like pretty much everybody, when I started doing this stuff, this was sort of like, the 100th attempt out of 1,000 attempts that I had done to try to lose weight. And part of that is always that sort of, this is what I want to do. I want to get down to this weight, and this is how I'm going to look, and I want to do this. And you just sort of, not exactly visualize, but, wish as to what you're going to look like. Because we don't really have a clear idea as to what we look like under all this fat. We have an idea as to what we want to look like, the things that we want to do, how people are going to react to us, all this stuff. And generally, once we start in, it gets very difficult to do, and we run into barriers, and we have plateaus, and we have gains, and we get frustrated and discouraged, and we stop, and then of course gain it all back, everything else. But I think a big part of that is still just sort of sitting and thinking about what we're going to look like. And really, you can say what we feel like and health-wise and everything else. But when it comes right down to it, when we're like this, the main thing that the thing that's at the forefront is I'm going to look better. I don't like the way I look. And it's really sort of a self-image thing. And as we've progressed, we've learned a tremendous amount. We've tried to address some of the issues that go hand in hand with being overweight, whether it's, how we were raised, or the foods that we had when we were kids, or foods we had when we were adults. I don't want to blame our parents for everything. We're adults. We can take responsibility for our own shit. We were sort of aware of a lot of the contributing factors, the things that sort of made us how we are. And although our behavior is really the majority of it, at least we understand a little bit more where that comes from. When we sort of think ahead and go, well, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to look like, and this is what I want to feel like, and I'm going to be able to just buy clothes right off the rack, and I'm going to be able to wear clothes that actually touch my skin, and people won't be all weirded out. All those little things that sort of come together, I think that's a big part of it. But something happened, I don't know if it's even during this week, just sort of today, really, when I noticed it, that there's a bit of a difference now between looking ahead and going, okay, well, this is what I want to get to, and this is what I'm looking at, because we've got a little bit of experience behind us now. And it's not the same thing as saying, well, we've been doing this for a month and I've lost 10 pounds. This is going to be great. That's fine. We have those moments when we feel that progress, and it makes us feel good. But we don't really have any frame of reference to go by as to how things are going to progress. At this stage, we've been going for 10 months. And even if you've jumped in halfway and you're only a few months in, we still have, a fairly substantial time frame to look at. And what I find I'm was doing today, actually, was still looking ahead. I'm still saying, this is what I want to look like and this is what I want to do. But it's changed somehow. It's not the same as me looking ahead and going, I'm going to be able to wear this, and this is what my body's going to look like, and this is what I'm going to, I'm going to be able to breathe easier, I'll be able to sleep on my back, all these other things. Because I can look back now at 6 or 8 or 10 months worth of progress, and I can now project that forward. And so, for example, in the past 6 months, it hasn't been a tremendous amount of weight. It's been around 40 pounds in the past 6 months. So even if I take that block and say, I went from 280 to roughly 280 to roughly 240, so we're going to say 40 pounds. I can now take that 6-month block and project that ahead. And there are going to be some differences there. We're going to have plateaus, we're going to have gains. My eating habits are going to change. There are going to be moments when I fall off the wagon. There are going to be moments when I do really, really well. But on average, a 6-month period, given all the ups and downs that we've had, 40 pounds, I can use that sort of as a yardstick. So if I project that ahead, then I know, 6 months from today, then I might actually hit below 200 pounds in the next 6 months. And if I keep going forward that way, then, beyond that, a year from now, I'll be down another 80 pounds, which I think is going to be a little too much. But, and again, there are variables that are in there that, the exercise that I'm doing is going to change. I don't want to get to a point where I'm like, oh, super skinny, which I don't think is ever really going to happen. The weight loss is going to slow down once I start approaching a healthy weight, because my eating habits really won't be changing too drastically. I'm still going to be eating healthy. I'm still going to be eating roughly the same number of calories. It's just that my body's going to start getting used to it. So I'm going to need to work harder to lose those last few pounds and things like that, which is something that we've always accepted. But it's different now because I can look ahead, and it's not the same as me going like that wishful thinking, going, I'm going to be able to ride a horse without the horse dying. I can look ahead 6 months and I know where I'm going to be. And it's different than saying, this is where I want to be, and, I think this is what's going to happen, and if I keep doing this, then I'll be able to, it's different projecting ahead and saying, oh, I'm speculating at this point and seeing what I'm going to look like and what my weight is going to be and everything else. It's a very different feeling when you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, assuming I'm still alive, that you know where you'll be. And because we have such a long history to fall back on, even if you're only going 3 months at a time, you can project that ahead and say, okay, you know what? Here I am. This is where I've had 9 months. I'm going to dig an average for 3 months, and then I can project that ahead. It's not going to be exact, but it's going to be much better than us, that sort of guesswork that we did before. And it's a really different, it's a neat feeling, really, because it's interesting because I'm looking ahead going, almost like I can plan ahead now and say, well, at this stage, this is how much I'm going to weigh. And so I can sort of tweak this way and that way. I obviously haven't gotten that far yet because this is still very brand new. This is something that I'm looking at going, there's still guesswork there, but I'm much more confident in it, I guess, because the math is there. I think maybe that's what it is. Before, it was a lot of sort of metaphysical stuff and just going, oh, well, I know that I can do this, and if I cut these down, then I can start doing exercise, and there's nothing really tangible. And obviously, I could have looked at this 3 months ago, and I could have looked at this 5 months ago, and I can still do the same thing. But I think it's because we have such a huge timeline in behind us now. Like when I go on MyFitnessPal and I take a look and say, all right, I want to see what it looks like for the past year, it doesn't look like there's much progress. It just kind of goes beep, 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 beep. But again, I'm looking at a year compressed into like a foot on my screen. And the same thing with 6 months. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of progress. And I'm looking at it going, 40 pounds over 6 months isn't a lot. It's a quarter of what I need to lose, roughly. So it's still, I can look at it and say, well, okay, well, even that as an example, then 2 years I know, and I'm halfway through almost, then I know how much I'm going to be able to lose in the long run. My exercise is going to improve because I'm going to start learning more about that and start getting more involved with that, because right now I'm just still doing the treadmill thing. The sit-up thing, I have not gone back to entirely because, again, I'm a little wary and I hurt myself, which we'll talk about later on during the week as well. But I don't really know how to explain it. It's the difference, honestly, it's the difference between speculating and knowing how things are going to be. And obviously we can't know 100%, but when you have that much math behind you where, okay, this is a proven history, this is a result that I've gotten from following these steps. If I continue on this same path and project that ahead another 6 months, that's going to give me an idea as to where I'm going to be. Not, oh, I really hope that I'm this weight, or, oh, I really hope I can do this activity or something like that. I know what weight I'm going to be at within a few pounds, assuming I'm still following on the same path. And it's weird because I've never had that. It's always been, oh, I wish I could do this, and I could just sit back and fantasize about being able to run through the woods or the trees, or the woods and the trees, which are two totally separate things. And I always did that. There was always sort of that moment that it's odd, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one that's gone through this. The moments when I had the strongest resolve to actually do something is usually when I was doing nothing. Not when I was home, not when I actually had the opportunity, but usually on my way to work, or if I'm out doing something and just going, you know what, I'm going to start. I'm going to start doing this right away. But when the opportunity came, I never took it. So, but those were the moments when I had that, if I start doing this, then I could do that. I could lift weights, and I could run, I could be athletic, and not even be an athlete, just be active. And just obviously never materialized because I didn't bother getting off my ass to do anything. But it's so different now because I can look at it and say, I'm active now. When I'm projecting that forward, it's more of an improvement. What else could I do that I would enjoy? I always wanted to learn how to skate. I think I'm at a much easier weight now to start learning. I'm still a little too heavy, I think. I'm probably, they're just like, it's still too fat to skate right now. I tried when I was pretty close to 300 pounds. And it hurt too much because you're balanced on a little tiny blade. So, but I still have skates. I still want to learn how to do that. And I think that where I'm a little more active now, I think it would be easier. So that's something I can look forward to. And I can project that ahead again and say, 6 months from now, if I lose another 40 pounds, then it's going to feel so much different. I'm going to be able to last a lot longer when I'm out on, on a treadmill or on the ice or something like that. I'm not going to have just, I think, all the bad things that sort of pile on top of you when you're trying to do something. And again, it's not, I'm sort of sitting there fantasizing about what it would be like. I can project that ahead, and I can actually, I keep saying project, I know, but it's a proper term. I can actually look ahead and say, I know that this is what it's going to be like. Well, within reason, you know what I mean. Numbers wise, the math is there, so I can look at it and say, okay, well, at 2 months from now, I know where I'll be. In 4 months from now, I know where I'll be, 6 and 8, and I can keep going out that way and can gauge things a little bit better. And as a result, I can probably prepare things a little bit better. And I suspect it's the same for a lot of you out there as well, that, whether you've lost 10 or 20 pounds, however long you've been doing this, you have at least a sample of, what you are capable of doing. That changing our eating habits and starting in just not vigorous exercise or even moderate exercise or whatever stage you're at right now where you're more active, you can take a look at that and say, if I kept things exactly the way things are going, I know I'm still going to be losing this much because I've already done it. And yes, it's going to slow down once we start sort of reaching our optimal weight, and we're going to have to work a little bit harder and, a little bit stronger and smarter to get to where we want to be. But for now, that is still much better than the guesswork that we've had for so many years. And I don't know, it's just, I thought it was interesting because I've never had that before. I've never had, any long-term results that I could go back to for a reference. It's always been, I did this, I think probably the last successful time I ever tried to lose weight was, in my teens, when I thought, okay, I've done this for 2 weeks and yeah, it works. Granted, I'm eating half a grapefruit every single day, so of course it's going to work. But I'm not going to do that forever, so I'll just go back to my old eating habits. But with this, where especially I know that, we've worked as hard as we can to make this sustainable, to do something that it's, a lifestyle change more than a diet. That it's something that we're going to be able to continue on. So 6 months, it's not a matter of I need to stay on this diet for 6 months and then I'll be able to do this. And, if I stay on this diet another 6 months after that, it's just as long as I keep going the way that I'm going, with the ups and downs and the bad days when I, still fall off the wagon, and the days when I have plateaus and the weeks that I gain, everything, when you take everything into account. And even the fact that 6 months ago, we were barely doing any exercise and our eating habits weren't as refined as they are now. Even taking all that into account, we still have results, proven results that we can look at and say, I know this is where it's going to be another 6 months from now. And it's really, really encouraging because it's so much different. So much different? No, that seems grammatically incorrect, isn't it? It's so different, so much different-y. I don't know how to, there is so much difference. Maybe that's what I'm trying to think of. All right, anyway, lost my train of thought there, completely derailed everything. Shit. Anyway, it is, forget that part. Just ignore that part. It's so different than what we're used to because it's always just been that, I want to do this and this and this and this. And we've always been hopeful and we've always, had the loftiest of goals and the best of intentions when we're starting out to lose weight. But because we have those results now, it's a knowledge. It's not the same thing anymore. And I find that much more encouraging than reading up on anyone else saying, well, here's how I lost 200 pounds by doing this, this, and this. Like, great, that worked for you. It may not work for me, but, give it a go. It's different now that we know what we can do and that we have measurable results and we can prove I did this. I lost 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 200 pounds, however much you've lost. There are people out there that have lost 2 or 3 times as much as I have, doing either the same thing or different things, but it's a measurable result that they can look at and say, you know what, I did this. And I know if I continue doing this, then I can do it again and again and again and again. And I don't know, it's sort of, you have those moments when you think, kind of losing momentum here. And then a little thing like that will just be, you know what, no, I want to keep going. Not because it's, I hate myself so much anymore, which we all still do. We are always going to have that self-loathing and everything else. But just having a nice moment where it's not so much going, I don't want to go back to what I was, and I still hate how I look, and I'm still fat and lumpy and bulgy all over the place, as opposed to, you know what, yes, I still am, but I know that that's going to change. And I can look ahead and say, I could point to a date and say, on this date, this is probably how much I'm going to weigh now if I continue what I'm doing. And I don't know, it's so weird. It's such a different feeling all the way around. And I'm hoping I'm not the only one feeling this, because it's weird and good in a good way. Not like oh my God, that's really, really awkward, kind of gross, weird thing. It's a good feeling. And I like having the numbers that can support it, like having the evidence that I can look at and say, all right, this is proof. This isn't speculation. This isn't guesswork. This isn't someone going, oh, it's a miracle drug. Try this. This is something, nope, I can prove during this time period. This is what I did, and this is the result from it. I need to apply it again, and I should have the exact same result. I like that. It's just the order is, makes me feel good. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So I'm hoping I'm not the only person that's feeling this. And if you've been doing this for quite some time, if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 months under your belt already and it's already behind you, go back, take a look at your progress, which we've done before, but we haven't really sort of applied that looking forward. So take those results and see where you're going to be in 2 months and in 4 months and in 6 months, and pinpoint a date and say, okay, on this date, this is what I think I should weigh. Not, this is my goal, this is what I want to get to at this date. Say, I need to be 140 pounds, in 4 months' time. Don't set a deadline for it. Don't set a goal. Don't do anything like that. Just sort of project forward and say, again, project. I'm not trying to be like, project it, fancy. I mean, mathematically projecting it forward and say, okay, you know what? This is probably what I'm going to weigh at this date, and this is what I'm going to weigh at this date, assuming everything stays the same. And I think it'll be interesting because I think we will probably be very close, very, very close to what those weights are. And we might be a few weeks behind, we might be a few weeks ahead, but it's nice to be able to get an educated guess in there and make a mathematical estimate as to where we're going to be. It's a lot more exciting than just going, this is where I want to be in 2 years' time, because it's a little far out there, and there's nothing really tangible that we can hang on to. And I think that might contribute to some of us going, well, I'm not going as fast as I want to go or as fast as I thought I would, and you get discouraged that way. But with this, it's sort of this is more of a mathematical prediction, which I think will be nice. Anyway, I'm repeating myself, but I'm getting all excited. It's a weird thing to get excited about, but this is what I say. Yesterday was very, hate everybody, and today I'm just like, ooh, numbers and math and sciencey things. Because it's interesting, and I'd love to figure out, where I'm going to be and see how close that is, and I may do that. I don't know if I would go month by month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever. I could go month by month and just sort of do an estimate that way. As I say, we do run the risk of sort of going, okay, well, I need to lose an extra 2 pounds, so I'm going to not eat for this week. I don't want to do that, but still, just to sort of say, here's where I think I'll be, and then here's where I am. Makes me feel good. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.